What's up, nerds? Winstreak here. Today's video, we are going to be taking a look at equipment into the inventory and onto our character. So without further ado, I have a pre-set up screen with just images just to save some time and to make it look a little better than stick figures. Some of the main keys will be these inventory slots. They are all the same, just copy-pasted instances. And also I'm going to have the equipment itself, which will just be a single sprite with a bunch of different frames that it can view. And I'm going to grab those from a asset pack from Shikashi. And we're just going to drag and drop this into the animation frames. Import it from the sprite strip, and it's going to be 16 by 20. And now we have all these different items put into different frames. And I'm going to go ahead and turn the speed off. That way, when I create a new piece of equipment and let's say set it to 80, it'll be this wooden sword and it'll stay like that forever. So that's how we're going to have our equipment. And then I'm just going to create an event that will spawn equipment for us. That way we don't have to worry about figuring out the enemy and the kill system. We're strictly just going to be in the equipment inventory system. So first I'm going to delete this. I don't want that to be part of it. And then see if I already have mouse and keyboard in here as objects, so I can work with those. And goal one will be to have our keyboard bring up some items anytime I press spacebar. Actually want to go into create, and we're going to create a new equipment. And I did something wrong. Let's start that over. On spacebar pressed, create object. Oh, I didn't name it. It's just sprite. Let's rename that to equipment. And then where I want to create it, I'm just going to have them spawn in this little area down here. It'll be a little holding pool for all my equipment before it gets sorted into my inventory. So we're looking at like 600 to 800 and then 250 to 450. And that'll just be a random spawning area. So now if I run this, we'll see all my sprites, and then I can press spacebar and we get that equipment to spawn. And now we want to set it to actually be an equipment. So I'm going to pop open the object again and look at some of the frames. And starting on 80, we start getting what looks like items rather than some things look like buffs and whatnot. So I just want the items. I'm going to erase some of these blank ones. So 80 through 132 sounds good to me. And we're going to do that by simply just setting on created. Well, technically on space, but since we're creating it, it's going to have that target equipment piece. And we'll just set the frame here. Random, I believe I said 80 to 132. I'm going to press 133. Since it doesn't technically reach the second number here, it's 0.00001 off. And then I'm going to drop an int here. So that'll always round it down. So that's the same as being the floor here. And that just rounds that one down. So it'll be 80 to 132 here. And we'll set the animation, and I'll show that real quick. So now as I press spacebar, just randomly fills up with different pieces of equipment. So next we will want the equipment to be thrown into different inventory slots. And we'll do that by two things. We're going to want to set whether or not these are full or empty. And we can do that with a Boolean. So we're going to name them as full, because I like to start things as false. So we're going to name it as full. They'll all be set to false because they are empty. And anytime equipment is created, uncreated, I'm going to throw a little weight in here. This is just for visual, so we can actually see it go into the waiting area first. And then we are going to have a sub event, and we're going to find, oops, that's not my inventory, find an inventory slot that is tracking the inverse of full, which is empty. So I'm going to put in full, and I'm just going to right click invert it. So that'll only find ones that are empty, which at the start will be all of them. And the second thing I want to do, I'm going to add a ID slot. And they already have UIDs built in, but I don't know all their UIDs. And they're not necessarily in order or starting from 1. I just want to create my own, and it'll just be 0 through whatever. And I know I'm not going to be adding more inventory slots during my game, so I'm just going to do an on start of layout in order to set all those IDs. So we'll have a sub event in here, and we'll also want a, I call them tracker, just a number that we can manipulate in here to set each ID. So this will be a for each, because I want to touch each one individually for my inventory slots. And we are going to set inventory slot ID value to this variable I just made. And like I said, I normally call it tracker. I will actually rename it in here. So we're going to set this to tracker. So the first one is going to go to 0. And then we are going to add one to tracker. So we can run this in debug mode. And then if I pull up inventory slots, you can see we have ID 0, ID 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. So I'll go all the way across and end with the last one, boop, being ID 23. So now I can work with those based off of their ID. And oops, actually, what I want to do here is find one that's not full, and then also just pick the lowest one of those not full ones. So technically this finds all inventory slots that aren't full, and then I want to pick the keyword. I'll just have to search it real quick. There it is. Pick highest, lowest. I always search by variable, and this one doesn't have it. So, but we want the lowest variable, and that just means we will end up with the closest to the top left of my inventory slots, like a normal inventory slot you'd think of in a game, and that'll just keep everything nice and tidy as they come in. So when we find that, we're going to set the position of our equipment to that position. So inventory slot X and in slot Y. And then we also want to change that inventory slot to now be full. It's a bool and set it to true. And now one comes in, automatically goes to a spot. And as we fill it up, they automatically continue going on. And next, we'll go ahead and let's delete items. So I'm going to right click an item and it'll destroy it. Like I said, I already have a mouse object in here, so I can work with clicks. And on object, click equipment, but I want it to be right click and destroy. And then anytime I destroy equipment, I also want to free up the inventory. So I'm just going to pick the nearest inventory. And since equipment is going to be on the exact origin of the inventory, it will pick the one that it's on. So sub event here. Actually, I don't think I need one. Nearest to equipment X and Y. And we will set that inventory to false. And now what that should do is, one, free up the spot, and also free up this. So my next one auto-populates back there. Next, we will throw some values on our equipment. And we'll show those values down here. And then we'll also have a value for our actual character. And we'll also show that in here. And that'll only show up if we currently have something equipped. So we'll give equipment some variables, and I'm just going to work with health as a number and also attack. And on created, we're just going to set those to a random number. We'll do attack and 10. And we'll wrap that in an int so we don't get all those decimals. And that'll be 0 to 9. And I'll do the same thing for health. And then I have some text boxes right here. So anytime I mouse over equipment, I want this top text bar to show the stats of that equipment. So I'm just going to create an event for cursor over. And any equipment. So anytime I cursor over any equipment ever, I want to see the stats in there. And I think it's equipment stats. I haven't worked with this project in a while, so I don't remember all the names. I'll verify in a second. We want to set the text. I'll leave that blank right now, verify I have the right one. Equipment stats, I do. And we want to set that to show health. Let's keep it a little smaller. I'm just going to do HP, colon, and a space, and then bring in the equipment's health stat. Then I'm going to force a new line in there or a return, and then I will do the same thing for attack. Give it a space, and this time we need equipment.attack. And then I'm going to copy paste this and then invert this, because anytime I'm not covering them up, I'm just going to set that back to being blank. So now we have nothing. I might have those invisible. It was called equipment stats and visible false. So it's not visible. So we don't get to see any of that. I'm going to come in here and initially visible, set that to true. So we'll try that again, summon some items, and we can see we have HP and attack for that item. And again, these are all random. And from here, we would want to essentially click one and then be able to equip it. So let's see, how do we want to do this? I have a select built into these. And let's add one to my equipment. So this will be a bool, whether or not I'm selected. And they'll all start as false. And now we want a left click on equipment. I just copied that one since it's already a click on equipment. I'm going to change this to left click. And we'll still want the nearest inventory slot because we're going to set that to glow. So we'll do that by changing the animation. And if you just type in the first quotation, it'll show you all your options you have. And we'll set that to selected. But before we do that, based on not knowing this inventory slot, we want to turn all the other ones off selected because we only want to be able to select one at a time. So we're going to do a sub event. And we're going to move this into essentially the later part. So we don't learn about this inventory slot until we finish this top command right here. So in this one, I'm going to set all of them back to deselected. So that'll deselect anyone I currently have selected and then allow me to select my next one. And let's go ahead and see if that works. So we'll throw some things up there and I click this, meet, it glows. I know what one I'm selecting. And then I click this and it brings it over here. And now I want this text up here with the HP4 attack 0 to stay selected while I have this on select, not just while I'm highlighting. So we need to cursors over this, or we essentially need to find a way to track if any are selected at all, and then we'll keep that text up there. So for each equipment, actually, we'll do it off the inventory slots. For each inventory slot, for each inventory slot, let's see if one is playing selected. And we will put that there. I'm going to break this into two. Sub event. I'm actually going to bring this down here. That way I can create an else. So if one is playing selected, I don't think I want for each. I want just all inventory slots. Yeah, let's just do it. We'll see what happens. All right, so this definitely puts it up there, but it doesn't reset it to each equipment. So we need to pick the one closest to we'll try this out. And I'm going to move this above. Oh my. Oh, I wanted to work with the text. And stats. I broke everything. Okay, let's erase that guy. Actually, we're going to go back in time. We'll keep this moving. So we are back to our semi-working. Oh, this is weird. I have to actually click on the item here. Let's make these full size. We're just going to apply that to all. We have to click on the actual item in order to select, so I was missing a few times. But now it's a lot easier to click on them because they take up the whole area. For now, I will just skip the holding our text up there during, and something will come to me eventually, and we'll go from there. And let's do on selected and hit equip. So I'm going to work with some, I guess just one global variable, and that's going to hold my selected UID. And now when I click and set it to selected, we can also set that global, set value to the equipment's UID. And that means anytime I select something, I should have a way to always remember what it is, even if I start a new event down here. And oops, we'll open that up in debug. And system, selected UID. So I'm just going to create some stuff. Did I break debug, or did I break my thing? I broke my thing. What'd I do? I somehow moved that, and I didn't even notice. Okay, let's verify the other change is working correctly. So I'll spawn some stuff in. And under system, I have my selected UID. I'm going to select that. And I create these in order. So of course they only count up by one. But now I can come over here and click my equip button. and then I'll have this tracked UID to recall this equipped item. So we'll do an on-click event for our equip button. And button exit, button equip. And then we will grab equipment by UID. And we want to bring in our global UID, which I forgot the name of. Selected UID. Selected UID. And let's just move that to start with. So we are going to set position. And I'm not going to put in anything useful yet, but this will just verify that it works. So we can bring in a bunch of stuff and select that and that. And we moved it to 500, 500. Is that not on my page? It should be. Where is 500, 500? Oh, yep, that's below my page. Well, that makes sense. Anyways, it obviously moves the right one. Now we need to track what type of item it is. And that we want to do on created. So we're going to add some sub events here. And I need to actually go in here and figure out what they are. What numbers am I pulling in again? We have 80 through 132. So 80. Through 107 will be, we'll just call it weapon. So greater than or equal to 80. And also less than or equal to less than or equal to 107. And then we also need a new instance variable. This one will be a string, and this is going to track where our item is going to go when we equip it. So we'll have a string and equipment type. And in here, we will set that equipment type to, and these are all weapons. And then we'll hop back in here and figure out where the next stuff goes. 108 through 111 are helmets. I'm just going to copy paste that, but then fill in my new values I need. 108 to 111. Oops. Helmets. And 112 through 120. I'm going to count this as chest as well. Well, shoot, I got legs too. So 112 through 117. Chest. And then just to save time, we will do an else right here, and we will force those two. What other slots do I have? Let's look at the layout. We'll just say accessory, and I'll put it on the necklace slot. So now they can turn into 4 different types depending on what they are. And when I move these with set position, I want to move them to different spots depending on what they are. So we'll add different sub events. If the equipment frame is not frame, string variable is, and we want to do equipment type. So if it's weapon, we want to move it to weapon. And so on and so forth for chest, helmet, and accessory. So we're going to set the position, and over here I have my different slots. So it just tells me the name of them, because of course I'm going to use the .x.y. Equipment slot for weapon, .x. And .y. And we'll copy paste those in and then go edit. X and Y. And call these head instead of helmet. And accessory, which I want to do necklace for this one. Alrighty, we'll try this out. And this is obviously a weapon. And I'm going to hit equip, and it puts it right on the wrong spot. So let's figure out what I did wrong. We'll go in debug mode, and we'll throw some down. And equipment. So this guy is accessory, accessory, accessory. So they're all getting accessory no matter what. Which means weapon, accessory, weapon, weapon, accessory, accessory. Can I get anything else? Chest there, chest. Okay, so I believe what was happening before I added the else's, it would, well, I don't know. I don't know why it was overriding. It was almost like it was just checking these two with the else. So it'd run through, and then when it got here, it'd be like, oh, is it a chest? No, then it's accessory. And it would override the fact that I already hit this one. But now that all of them are built on else's, everything seems to be working correctly. And I should be able to equip, and that one goes there. That one goes there. And that's the only two types I have in here. Boop. And for now, they are just going to be stacking on top of each other. You can see we have a bunch of them over here. And that's not what we want. So when I equip one over there, I want to bring the old one back. So right here, before I do anything else, we're going to call a function, and that'll allow us to bring back our other item. So I'll create a function, and we'll name that unequip. And actually, I might want to bring it down here because I do also want this equipment type. So we're going to bring it down here. We'll call unequip. And I'm going to add a parameter, which will be a string. And I want equipment. So I'll just name it type. And then from here, I want equipment type. Equipment dot. Here it is. So now this will send in the equipment type of whatever piece of equipment I have. Hey there, Diego. And I will want to return, based on that equipment type, another item back over here, and then resort it. So if I say I have a weapon that is going to go over to the weapon slot, I need to check the weapon slot to see if anything is overlapping the weapon slot. So we'll need sub events for each different type again. Actually, just going to copy paste these. And that might not have saved too much time. Yeah, because I want the one I brought in. All right, starting over. We will add blank sub event and compare that string type. For type, and if it is equal to, I'll copy paste this one, and these are all going to be named the same: weapon, chest, helmet, accessory. So if it's a weapon, I know I'm going to be looking at this equipment is overlapping the weapon slot. We're going to set that position, and we're just going to move it to a random spot. This will be on the board just to show that it works, or at least hopefully to show that it works. So we have a weapon here, equip, it's over there. And let's see, boom, that one moves over here. So now we want it to instead move essentially straight into this empty slot that it came from. So we just need to recall we just need to recall this. So I'm going to turn this into a function since I'm using it more than once. And I'm going to bring this whole thing just right in here. And instead of having this equipment event do it itself, it's just going to call order inventory. And then instead of moving this randomly, it's going to call order inventory. That's obviously not working good. So we need to call it with the correct piece of equipment. Where's my first one? So we're going to give this a parameter with UID, and we'll send that in with equipment.uid. And that all broke because once you leave this event, you forget what piece of equipment you're looking at, and instead you're looking at all the pieces of equipment. So if I remember that event, that UID for the piece of equipment, I can call it and reforce it to remember that specific piece of equipment. So we'll grab equipment by UID, and we'll shove in the value that I brought over, and then we will run the same events. And I'm just gonna place that, and we'll see what happens now. All right, seems to be looking good again. We'll equip that, it moves over, come here, equip it, and it moves down. And that is because these spots stay as full on their booleans. So, oops, exit doesn't do anything. So now when I equip things, I need to also set that slot to no longer be considered full because you are removing the piece of gear. And need to remember where I did that. Set full. Where is... All right, we'll do it this way. Find all references of me clicking this button. Cool. So on mouse click of this button, we do all this fun stuff. And now we need to find the nearest. We need to find the nearest inventory slot to that piece of equipment. And toggle that boolean. All right, let's see if that fixes. Boom, and now back to its old spot. Alrighty, and last thing, I need things that are equipped over here to give me permanent stats. So I want to be receiving this 3 HP and 4 attack, as well as this 3 and 4. Well, that's odd that they're the same. 4 and 7. Just a coincidence. Wasn't sure if I broke something. We'll exit that. And we will be working with equipment stats 2, which is a terrible name because that's not actually what it will be. Hero stats. It's a text box. So we will grab text hero stats and set text. We need an every tick. And I like to do things like this every tick, and then I don't have to worry about updating it as items change. And since it's just going to be one single thing it's changing, it's not a big deal. It's not going to slow down your game. And we'll set that text to nothing. And then change it depending on what we have equipped. And there's multiple ways to do this. You can do it based off of overlapping, which sounds the easiest. I'm just going to do that. So for each. Equipment. And if you have the paid for version, you can use families here, and you could put each of these into or all of these into a family. And for each one overlapping that family, grab the stats. I will show the free version. But if equipment is overlapping another object, and we're gonna right click this and toggle it to make OR block. And now when I copy paste, I'm gonna go through and select each different type. I lied, I'm not actually going to, just to save time, but you would want to. We need chest, accessory, weapon, and helmet is all we actually use right now. So if we are overlapping any of those, we want to gather those stats. I'm going to make these global because I don't actually have a character object at all. So in order to keep my character stats, I am just going to do it in the global. So character attack and character health. And here we will go ahead and set those. Thinking I might have this ordered incorrectly, but we will see what we get and go from there. What's that? I want add. And we want to do the same thing for health to health. So go ahead and fill this inventory up. And we have 2 and 7 here, so we will equip that. And this is hidden, so this isn't going to be a good show of what's happening. Let's set this to initially visible. And every tick we will set it to blank and then reset it based on if my values for health or attack are greater than 0. So it'll be hidden until it's not 0. Character attack is greater than 0. Character health is greater than 0. And we'll make this an OR as well. So as long as either one of those is happening, we will set that text value to show all of my stats. All right. So we have that, and we'll equip it, and I didn't ever reset those. So in order for this to work, each time I need to reset it to 0. So essentially every tick, it'll check all my stats and give me those values. And then the next time it goes through, it'll set that to 0, check all my stats, give me those values. So we will set value for character attack and health to 0 each time before recalculating the value. And let's see if that helps. I have a weapon 2 and 8 equip, and something's going wrong. I do have overcrafting. Ooh. Probably should have finished my other function. Go back and do that real quick. We need chest. And this is as simple as copy pasting and editing the one you're overlapping to match the type of equipment you're actually working with. All right, that'll fix that. And I'm going to open this in debug mode. And I believe my character attack and health is not going above 0. So I have it equipped, yet nothing's happening. So it's like it's not going in here. And a quick way to check if you're getting into a different part of the event, I like to just delete something. So I'm just going to destroy this enlarged item sprite I have here. And that's this down here. Essentially, once I equip something that gives me stats, that should go away. And it does. So I do get in here. Huh. So I'm going to reverse this for each equipment. For each equipment that meets these different restrictions here, I'll do this. And I'm just going to throw every tick. Put that whole thing in there. So we'll set them to 0. I'm going to keep that destroy there just to see if anything's actually happening. Okay, look, destroyed it because it's in there, and now I actually have a value that it's holding. Equip that. I'll go. Oh. Huh. I had to check out my pants there. They should have went on the chest slot. Go ahead and find those in here and see if I broke something. 118. Yeah, it looks like I end my chest slot early. Should go all the way to 120. So just a typo. And we can remove this destroy since it's working now. And essentially I should be able to equip anything. All right, we got to fix the boots from going there now. But these should swap out. So we have this boomerang, which hopefully is going to go here, to replace a 9 and 0 with a 9 and 3. So health shouldn't change. Attack should go up by just 3. All right, that works. That popped out. And then why? I think those boots are just labeled wrong as well. Everything else seems to be working. Boots. Oh, boots are just too late in the program, so they just fall under accessory. Okay, so everything seems to be working. I would recommend going through and setting this a bit neater. Erase what you don't want, and then give a set column or a set amount of number to each one. So if you want to do something like chest from 0 to 99, and then you do weapon from 100 to 199, and then it doesn't matter if you have blank spaces, you just make sure they're not able to call those. So when you call your random, you create it in there to block off calling the other ones, and that'll make it a lot easier to do mass movements to like different types for your equipment. But otherwise, this is working as intended. It is just the shortcut version. So hopefully it helps you out. And yeah, have fun. Let me know if you have questions, anything down in the comments below, and I'll do my best to help you out. Have a good one.